There was an old derry down Derry who loved to see little folks merry. So he made them a book, and with laughter they shook at the fun of that derry down Derry. Dedication to the great-grandchildren, grandnephews, and grandnieces of Edward, 13th Earl of Derby. This book of drawings and verses, the greater part of which were originally made and composed for their parents, is dedicated by the author Edward Lear. London, 1862. There was an old man with a nose who said, "If you choose to suppose that my nose is too long, you are certainly wrong." That remarkable man with a nose. There was an old man on some rocks who shut up his wife in a box. When she said, "Let me out," he exclaimed, "without doubt, you will pass all your life in that box." There was a young person of Smyrna whose grandmother threatened to burn her. But she seized on the cat and said, "Granny, burn that, you incongruous old woman of Smyrna." There was an old person of Rheims who was troubled with horrible dreams. So to keep him awake, they fed him with cake, which amused that old person of Rheims. There was an old man on a hill who seldom, if ever, stood still. He ran up and down in his grandmother's gown, which adorned that old man on a hill. There was an old man of Leghorn, the smallest that ever was born, but quickly snapped up he was once by a puppy, who devoured that old man of Leghorn. There was an old person of Chile, whose conduct was painful and silly. He sat on the stairs eating apples and pears, that imprudent old person of Chile. There was an old man in a pew whose waistcoat was spotted with blue, but he tore it in pieces to give to his nieces, that cheerful old man in a pew. There was an old man with a gong who bumped at it all the day long, but they called out, "Oh, Lor, you're a horrid old bore," so they smashed that old man with a gong. There was an old man of Jamaica who suddenly married a Quaker. But she cried out, "Oh, lack, I have married a black," which distressed that old man of Jamaica. There was an old man of Kilkenny who never had more than a penny. He spent all that money in onions and honey, that wayward old man of Kilkenny.